Welcome back to the Hunt Fish Live podcast. I'm Dan, your host, and this is episode 10. We had a great show for you this week. This past weekend was opening weekend of firearm season here in Michigan and in Indiana, and I've got some great stories to tell. Let's get into it. This past Friday, I headed down to Northwest Indiana to meet Corey, Steve, and Tyler to hunt Indiana's firearm opener down there. Opening day is the second Saturday in November down there, so it's always on a Saturday, which is great compared to up here, where opening day of firearm season is always the 15th of November, regardless of what day of the week it's on. I don't have any private land to hunt up here, and state land around me scares me during firearm season. There's just a lot of people, a lot of pressure, and a lot of bullets flying everywhere. So I made the choice to head down south and hunt our farm down there. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get out this weekend due to some family stuff that's going on, but I felt comfortable. I talked over with my wife, and we decided it was okay that I went. I was close to the phone at all times, so if I had to come back for anything, I was able to do that as well. I got down there with enough time to get unpacked, get settled in, have a little lunch, and get out for the evening hunt. I headed to a farm that we call the 200 farm. It is currently a cut cornfield with woods and a creek/ditch going through it. Thick bedding on the north side of the property and another field on the south side of the property. For whatever reason, that farm holds the big ones. That's where we always go to have a chance at something really nice. Often, there's hardly any hunting pressure over there, which is great. So I headed that direction when it was time to go out for the evening on Friday. I got sat down, settled in, and got my camera rolling and all my gear set up, waiting for that big one to come through. I didn't see anything really until about 5 o'clock. And I noticed a deer come out of the woods, probably 300 yards to to the east of me. It walked through the field, went to the ditch, and followed the ditch across the road, and it was gone from there for the rest of the day. A little while later, 3 more deer came out of the same spot, out of the corner woods, and they milled around in the cut corn, eating what they could. One of them came back into the woods, and lo and behold, started making its way towards me. It ended up being a spike. It hung out for, I don't know, probably 10 minutes at 15 yards, just checking everything out, being cautious, and doing his best not to not to be seen or get shot. Still bow season, so I had my bow up in the tree because I couldn't use a gun yet. A little while later, probably 3 or 4 minutes after that, one of the deer that was in the field started coming towards me. It was a buck. It was a big buck. Probably one of the biggest bucks that I've had in range in a long, long time. He worked his way into about 15 yards. He was covered by some branches that were hanging down from the tree, and kind of he was at a, he was looking directly at me, but wasn't looking at me, and so I had zero shot at vitals. I'm not comfortable making a frontal shot with an arrow, so let him make the move to give me a better shot, or give me a shot in general. He ended up turning to his left, which is my right, and crossed in front of me. By the time he did that, he was unshootable. There's a branch that hangs out going across my body in that stand, as well as another big tree trunk that obstructs the drawing of a bow. He walked to the field line, which was, I was right on the field line. He was probably about 30 yards to my to my west and stood there broadside, but there was no possible way I could get my bow pulled back to get a shot. So I worked the camera around the tree, filmed him for a few minutes while he stood there and looked things over, and he bound off into the thick woods in the bedding area and crossed the railroad tracks and got out of there. It was not a successful encounter, but it was an encounter, and I learned a lot from that. 5 minutes that I saw that deer, and it made my day. It was pretty awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to get back down there and maybe have a crack at him. He was a beautiful, really tall 8-point. So maybe next time. Saturday morning went out. I hunted on the north side of our field in the tree line, a cut bean field, the north side of a cut bean field, and I had one doe come through about 8:30. She was probably around 80 yards out and did not stop. She was running from something. Hunted till about 11. Got down. Only saw that one deer. Tyler got down as well. We headed back to the camper, and I was going to make breakfast. Corey's job that morning was to hunt till noon because we had been getting pictures of deer at around 11:30, 11:45 over in the stand that he was on the property that he was sitting at, and so we made him stay till noon. Good thing we did, because started making breakfast and got a hold of him at 12 to see if he was getting down and coming back. He never texted back, never responded to anything. He was trying to get down, and a deer walked in to range on Saturday. Firearms season. He's got his 270 rifle down there, and shot a pretty nice 8-point at like 15 yards with his rifle. Took off running, made it about 60 yards with half of a heart, which was crazy. I'd never seen a deer with half of a heart before. Very impressive that he actually went as far as he did with that bad of an injury. I'll have him on at some point and talk about it. It's a pretty impressive story. You guys will all enjoy it. Saturday night, I head out with Corey in hopes of getting a doe. We hunker down in a fence corner that we built a little blind in, sitting on the ground in between all the area of the farm that the deer come and go from. Usually, we ended up seeing a very big buck. Probably 5:30 or so, where just the sun was going down. He was about 350 yards out, so zero shot at that. He stayed along the tree line. We tried getting him to come to us with the grunt call, snort wheeze call, and did a little rattling and showed interest, but I think he winded us. The wind was blowing straight out of the east, and he was a little bit southwest of us, so don't blame it at all, but it was a good time. It's always fun sitting with someone else in a blind. It's a whole different level of hunting, that's for sure. It's quite fun, actually. Sunday morning, went back to 200 in hopes of a last-ditch effort of getting one of those big bruiser bucks over there, and only saw 2 does, so it was kind of disappointing. It was a great morning to be out, but the deer just weren't there for some reason or another. Headed back in around 9 to help Corey get his deer situated and bring it to the processor and get home at a decent time. So we did that. It was a lot of fun. It was cool seeing all the deer laying at the processor and hearing some stories from some of the guys and gals that were there. So that's always one of my favorite, is just talk to people about their deer kills. So with this weekend being opening weekend of firearms season, gun season is here. Ours in Michigan goes till the end of the month, and same for down in Indiana. I just remember, hunting camp is a thing that I feel is going by the wayside these days. I think that hunters need to get back. I think the hunters need to get back into the deer camp way of life. It's so much fun being in camp with your family and friends and hearing stories, hanging out, hunting together. it's a ton of fun. It's some of the best memories that I have hunting growing up. Um, my I don't really I don't get out hunting with my uncles and cousins anymore. The area that they hunted or that they hunt currently isn't that great. So, or it wasn't that great, and I kind of spread my wings and went elsewhere. I started hunting with my best friends, and I do not regret it one bit. So I just remember when I was a kid, when I was 14, first deer season, gun season, first gun season ever. I remember going to the store with my mom and dad, or with my mom before, like the week before, and we headed straight to the outdoors section. My uncles gave my mom a list of all the stuff that I needed. It was the really warm boots, the really warm gloves, you know, pumpkin suit galore, a bibs, winter coat, big heavy hat. We hunted public land up in the Manistee National Forest, and so we wanted to be seen, but also we had to be warm because when November 15 wasn't like it is now back then. It was cold. It was always cold. It was always snowing. I just remember riding with my uncles up north, and it was like you had to drive way under the speed limit because the roads are covered in snow and in ice. And I remember the one year we took the camper up there, and we stayed at this campground, and all the roads in camp were completely iced over. And I remember walking up to the bathroom before the morning hunt and like falling on my butt, walking up the hill because it was so icy, and everything was frozen. Everything was frozen. But they let hunters there hang deer at the campsites, which was pretty cool to see. I remember that like it was yesterday, walking through the campground to go to the bathroom, or driving through the camp to get out and go hunting, seeing everyone's deer hanging in the trees at their campsites. It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Yeah, it's crazy because the typical day for us, you know, back then, you didn't have cell phones, you didn't have GPS, you didn't have anything. We got up super early, it felt like. We left camp probably a half hour before it got light. Maybe it was probably a little earlier than that. Hour before light, because it took us about a half hour to get there. We always ended up walking out just as it was getting light out, because my grandpa always stalled. Funny thing, I do the same thing now. Still, even with flashlights and everything like that. We hunted for a couple hours, 2.5 hours maybe. Headed back in about 9:30 for hot cocoa and coffee and a little bit to eat. No one brought backpacks or anything back then. Everything was kept in the truck. We just sat on camp stools next to trees. It was some pretty intense hunting. I remember one time the first buck that I ever shot at was a 6-point, came into range. It was at 40 yards. I had my grandpa's old lever action 44 mag, and I shot at this thing 3 times. And for some reason, I decided to use the iron sights instead of the scope that was also sighted in. Missed it 3 times. Deer runs off. Uncles all come over. Grandpa comes over. We start searching for this thing and made a big old deal about it. And we never found any blood or anything. I clearly missed 3 times. But yeah, so we'd hunt till mid-morning, 9:30. Come back, walk back to the truck, have a snack or a sandwich, some hot chocolate, some coffee, some tea, go back out for a little bit, come back around noon, same thing, have some lunch, have something to drink, and we'd usually drive around and check out everything around noon, how people are hunting, where people are hunting, and all that stuff. We'd typically, I don't know, probably find a hunting spot back. We probably end up back where we started in the morning around 2 o'clock and hunted for another 3 hours till 5:30 or so. We never walked out at night in the dark when it was like really dark. None of us really had flashlights. it was crazy. Definitely a different time than now. Now, we hunt till from a little before light to around 11 or noon. Go back to camp, have some lunch, maybe take a nap, head back out about 2 and sit for the other 3-4 hours of the night. It's just crazy how things have changed. The weather's made it more comfortable to hunt most of the day, so can't really complain about that, but I kind of miss it being snowy, cold, and nasty like it used to be. What was your typical hunting camp like, or what is your typical hunting camp like for deer season? Is it different than your normal bow weekends and your rutcation weekend? Is it more family orientated or is it more friend orientated? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear about your gun hunting experiences too. So send me a message or comment and let me know. Fishing side of things, didn't really get out doing much or have a chance to do any fishing this past week. The week was shortened. Family stuff going on. My wife did make it out one night with her buddies to the walleye spot with the inner circle. One of the guys caught a couple. Another one caught one, and she didn't have any good luck. But from last weekend, we ended up with a whole bag full of fish for a fish fry coming up, which I'm very excited for. More on that when we do it, for sure. Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Hunt Fish Live podcast. I cannot believe we are on episode number 10. It has been my pleasure and a ton of fun making these for you. I enjoy telling my hunting and fishing stories and other experiences along the way. This is a great platform for me to do that, and hopefully I can teach you guys something along the way. Thank you for listening, everyone. Get out there, do some deer hunting, do some fishing. The weather's still nice. Let's have a great week. Good luck. Bye, everybody.